right, good afternoon, everybody. Responding to comments, our dear friend David Barnes, Silka's Insight, asked the following. The rabbi kind of dealt with this in the video, but I'm wondering what the rabbi's view of the, albeit small and mostly Gentile strand of this movement that sees Messianic Judaism as an attempt to recover the original movement of Oiseish. This strand denies doctrines like the Trinity, the divinity of Jesus, and replacement theology, etc. In fact, it would be fairly pro-Torah, pro-Pharisee, pro the rabbi's authority regarding the Torah, and pro the distinction between Jew and Gentile. So we're talking then about the mostly Gentile. I'm not really familiar with those who don't seek to identify somehow as Jewish as much. So, I would have to say, again, reiterating some of the things I discussed in the videos prior. As far as Jews, and I guess Noahides, I guess these would be consider themselves Noahide followers of Jesus and Paul, most likely, right? If they're of a Gentile strand, kind of in line with what Rav Yaakov Emden said about the argument between Paul and the other disciples, as is recorded in the Book of Acts. And again, I want to make it clear I don't accept any of those books as scripture. It should go without saying. And also, I don't accept them as historically valid. The entire idea of restorationism in general is an idea, whether Reconstructionism and Restorationism, is an idea that has a negative taste to traditionalists. And so whether one is an Orthodox Jew or lahavdil Catholic or Orthodox Christian, tradition means that which is received. A Kabbalah, a Masorah, something that's passed from one to the next. And so attempts to reconstruct something based on archaeology and so forth would basically be Christian or Jewish equivalents of the neo-pagans that I've mentioned in the other videos. The Asatru, certain strands of Wicca, the Hellenistic Reconstructionists, the Canaanite Reconstructionists, the Theodish and other pagan groups. So this would be the equivalent of that. And when we have a Masorah, our Masorah is Halacha L'Moshe Sinai Ish Mipi Ish. And lahavdil, Catholics and Orthodox have their apostolic succession. Now we count their religion as idolatrous. So these groups perhaps would not be idolatrous, but would be foolish. Because where are you deriving a belief in Jesus from? You're deriving it from really emotions. That's really what it comes down to. It's just it's something that's like I would say like a baby blanket, a bottle, a pacifier, that it makes you feel warm and fuzzy to love Jesus, and it's so hard to give up Jesus, so you follow this even though it doesn't make any sense logically. There are other aspects of Christianity that make a lot of sense to me, like the universality of it and so forth. same thing with Islam. And that's, I remember I was once walking down Seminary Row in Manhattan. I had a job interview over there. And a seminarian, I don't know which seminary he came from, he approached me and he told me that studying all the religions of the world, Judaism makes the most sense. It's the most logical of all religions, which I agree. I believe that the apologetics of Judaism are the most convincing apologetics of any religion. As a Hasidic Jew, I also engage in the emotional. But there's two parts of it. And so I understand the same thing. As a Hasidic Jew, I understand, even though I disagree with the Christian relationship that they have with Jesus, that's a personal issue, and I can't argue with that. But to try to syncretize these two, you're only fooling yourself. All right, it makes you feel good, and it makes you a better person. So I don't have a problem with it. Just like the Mormons and the Jehovah's Witnesses and all these other groups that just popped out of nowhere. If they makes their life better, like that episode of South Park, all right, makes their life better. Can't argue. I'm not gonna be rude or nasty, but I'll say my honest feelings and my honest beliefs and what I understand to be logical. The arguments of Orthodox Judaism make the most sense. But the question that this seminarian had was, why don't you share it? Why are you being spiritually selfish if this is the truth? And there are reasons why we haven't, mostly because of persecution and fear. And people got killed if they convert to Judaism. The strong arming of Christianity and Islam are the reason why we're scared to share our faith. Nowadays, things are different. We're in a different world. I don't know if we're in a much better world, though. The fact of the matter is, I think things were better when the church was stronger, even though what they were teaching was false. The world was better. And now, with a weak church, we look in America, the type of depravity that's fallen into this country. It's horrific. But so again, that's kind of how I see it. But if the question would have to be, just because this is a foolish movement doesn't mean that it's heretical. So if they believe in Jesus not as a God and so forth, the same thing the Jehovah's Witnesses. They don't believe Jesus to be God. They don't worship Jesus. They're technically not idolaters. They believe in something that has, is only known because of a church that they reject, the Catholic and Orthodox churches, and so they're still holding on to something that's essentially Catholic or Orthodox. But unlike the Catholic and the Orthodox, they don't have the question of idolatry. Among the Jews, it's a different thing. So again, it's really none of my business. If a group of Gentiles like this, they want to believe like this, but it's silly. And the same thing, people who either, if they are Jewish, they want to be Jewish, it's not heretical, perhaps, although according to Rav Menashe Klein, the Lubavitchers are heretical, who believe that the last one who was called Lubavitcher Rebbe took it away from his brother-in-law, that he was the Mashiach, Rav Menashe Klein, Zeichet Tzadik V'Kodesh L'Vrocha, held that it was idolatry, that it was kfira, it was apikorsis. The Rav Feldman in Baltimore, he doesn't hold that it's apikorsis. He just holds that it's shtus, it's foolishness. So both agree it's wrong, but I would say, however, whatever you apply to Lubavitch, you could apply to these Messianic groups, meaning they're foolish and they're wrong. According to Rav Feldman from Ner Yisrael, they would not be apikorsim, although he probably wouldn't say that, but I know other Rabbanim who do say it. And according to Rav Menashe Klein, they would be apikorsim. He has a whole tshuva why he holds that. It's pretty much, you should be consistent. Whatever you say about Lubavitch, you should probably say about the Jesus group. I know that the Lubavitchers will say, well, Jesus was a Rasha, and Lubavitch Rebbe was a tzaddik. All right, I understand. We don't know enough about Jesus to say one way or the other. Even the things that are in the Gemara, it's talking about someone who lived 100 years earlier, and might be simply polemical and not necessarily historical. But I'm almost certain that there's nothing in the gospel that's actually historical, or very little, if anything. It's a fictional account, as far as I'm concerned, and that's about it. So that's the issue. That's what it comes down to. Thank you for watching. God bless. Please like, share, subscribe, comment. We'll see you later.